The Valentich Disappearance is a perplexing and chilling mystery that has captivated the imaginations of Australians for decades. Blending elements of aviation, the supernatural, and conspiracy theories, on October 21, 1978, Frederick Valentich, a young pilot, took off from Melbourne in a Cessna 182 aircraft for a routine training flight over the Bass Strait. However, what happened next remains shrouded in mystery. The final moments of this were recorded.
Is there any known traffic below 5,000 feet?
No known traffic.
Seems to be a large aircraft below 5,000 feet.
What type of aircraft is it?
I cannot confirm. It's four bright, seems to me like landing lights. The aircraft has just passed over me at least 1,000 feet above. Is there any Air Force aircraft in the vicinity?
No known aircraft in the vicinity.
Seems to be playing some sort of game. He's flying over me. Delta Sierra Juliet, it's not an aircraft, it's...
Can you describe the aircraft?
As it's flying past, it's a long shape. Cannot identify it, it has such speed. It's before me right now, Melbourne.
How large would the object be?
Seems like it's stationary. What it's doing right now is orbiting. The thing is just orbiting on top of me. It's also got a green light and a sort of metallic, like, it's shiny on the outside. It's just vanished. That strange aircraft's hovering on top of me again. It's hovering and it's not an aircraft.
As Valentich flew over the Bass Strait, he radioed air traffic control to report an unidentified aircraft flying near him. He described the aircraft as large and metallic, with four bright lights, and expressed concern that it was orbiting around him. Moments later, Valentich reported experiencing engine trouble before abruptly vanishing without a trace. His final words being, "It's not an aircraft." One theory surrounding the Valentich disappearance suggests that Valentich may have encountered a UFO or extraterrestrial craft during his flight over the Bass Strait. His descriptions of the mysterious aircraft and the unusual circumstances surrounding his disappearance have led some to speculate that he may have been abducted by aliens or encountered some otherworldly phenomenon. Another theory posits that Valentich may have staged his own disappearance as part of an elaborate hoax or prank. Some believe that Valentich may have fabricated the encounter with the unidentified aircraft as a way to gain attention or notoriety, only to disappear intentionally to avoid facing the consequences of his actions. Yet perhaps the most plausible explanation is that Valentich's disappearance was the result of a tragic accident or navigational error. The Bass Strait is known for its treacherous weather conditions and unpredictable terrain, and it's possible that Valentich may have become disoriented or encountered difficulties while flying over the area. It's quite likely that the pilot was flying upside down and seeing his reflection on the water above him. Despite extensive search efforts and investigations, no trace of Valentich or his aircraft has ever been found, leaving his disappearance shrouded in mystery and speculation. The Valentich disappearance continues to intrigue and fascinate, inspiring countless theories and conjectures about the fate of the young pilot and the circumstances surrounding his final flight. In the heart of Melbourne, Australia, nestled within the grand halls of the National Gallery of Victoria, hung a masterpiece that had captured the imagination of countless visitors for decades. The painting, titled The Weeping Woman, was a haunting portrayal of sorrow created by the renowned Spanish artist Pablo Picasso. The story of the Weeping Woman began in 1937, amidst the chaos of the Spanish Civil War. Picasso, deeply affected by the suffering he witnessed, poured his emotions onto the canvas, giving life to a woman consumed by grief. Her tear-streaked face, distorted features, and anguished expression seemed to resonate with the pain of a nation torn apart by conflict. For years, the painting remained a symbol of resilience and defiance, surviving the passage of time as it found its way into the prestigious collection of the National Gallery of Victoria. Here, it became a beacon of artistry, drawing admirers from around the world who were moved by its raw intensity and emotional depth. However, on a fateful night in the midst of a bustling city, tragedy struck. In a daring heist that captured the attention of the world, the weeping woman was stolen from its rightful place within the gallery's walls. The news sent shockwaves through the art community and beyond, leaving authorities scrambling to unravel the mystery behind the theft. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the whereabouts of the stolen masterpiece remained shrouded in uncertainty. Despite tireless efforts and extensive investigations, the painting seemed to have vanished without a trace, leaving behind only unanswered questions and a lingering sense of loss. But just when all hope seemed lost, a breakthrough came in the most unexpected of ways. A tip-off from an anonymous source led authorities to a secluded hideout on the outskirts of the city, where the weeping woman was discovered, hidden away from prying eyes. The painting, though slightly worn from its ordeal, was ultimately returned to its rightful place within the National Gallery of Victoria, where it once again took its place among the masterpieces of art history. But to this day, no one knows who took it or how. The Easey Street murders are a chilling and perplexing mystery that has haunted Australia for over 4 decades, blending elements of true crime, urban legend, and forensic science. In January 1977, 2 young women, Suzanne Armstrong and Susan Bartlett, were brutally murdered in their home on Easey Street in Collingwood, Melbourne. What followed was a complex investigation that would leave the nation gripped by fear and uncertainty. The crime scene revealed a scene of unimaginable horror. Both women had been stabbed multiple times, and their bodies bore signs of a violent struggle. Yet despite extensive investigations and countless leads, the perpetrator remained elusive, leaving the community on edge and authorities baffled. One theory surrounding the Easey Street murders suggests that the killings may have been the work of a serial killer operating in the area at the time. Melbourne was plagued by a spate of unsolved murders and disappearances during the 1970s, leading some to believe that the Easey Street murders may be linked to other crimes committed by the same individual. Another theory posits that the murders may have been the result of a botched burglary or home invasion gone awry. The presence of multiple stab wounds and signs of a struggle suggests that the perpetrator may have been motivated by more than just theft, but rather a desire to inflict harm or violence upon the victims. Yet perhaps the most chilling aspect of the Easey Street murders is the lack of a clear motive or suspect. Despite decades of investigation and advances in forensic science, the case remains unsolved, leaving the families of Suzanne Armstrong and Susan Bartlett without closure and the community haunted by the specter of the unknown. The Easey Street murders continue to fascinate and intrigue, inspiring countless theories and conjectures about the identity of the perpetrator and the circumstances surrounding the brutal killings. Despite all of this, the house recently sold for more than its asking price.
34 years ago, Susan Bartlett and housemate Suzanne Armstrong were stabbed and killed here. The murderer has never been caught.
Because of the history of the property, that we were all aware that it was going to have to be discounted.
The Westall UFO incident is one of Australia's most intriguing and well-documented cases of unidentified flying objects, sparking widespread speculation and fascination for decades. On April 6, 1966, in the suburb of Westall in Melbourne, a group of students and teachers witnessed an extraordinary sight: a silver saucer-shaped object hovering in the sky above their school. According to eyewitness accounts, the unidentified object descended rapidly, causing a commotion as it flew low over the school grounds. Some described seeing the UFO land in a nearby field, while others claimed it disappeared from view shortly after. The Westall UFO incident quickly garnered media attention and sparked a flurry of speculation about the nature and origin of the mysterious object. Despite extensive investigations by authorities, including interviews with witnesses and searches of the area, no satisfactory explanation was ever provided for the strange phenomenon. One theory surrounding the Westall UFO incident suggests that the object may have been a secret military aircraft or experimental aircraft being tested by the Australian government or foreign powers. The rapid descent and maneuvers of the UFO led some to speculate that it may have been a prototype aircraft with advanced capabilities beyond the technology of the time. Yet perhaps the most intriguing aspect of the Westall UFO incident is the sheer number of witnesses who reported seeing the object, including students, teachers, and members of the public. Their consistent descriptions of the UFO and its movements lend credence to the idea that something unusual and unexplained occurred that day in Westall.
Witnessed by 200 people who say it was kept secret by the military.
This boy come running in and say, Mr. Greenwood, there's these things in the sky, these things in the sky.
We looked up and we just saw this saucer type thing taking off.
It wasn't a plane, it wasn't a balloon, it was nothing like that.
A lot of the kids took off towards where it seemed to go.
All the students were just running all over the place, hysterical.
Westall High School as a teaching situation ceased.
My girlfriend and I sat on the fence, climbed the fence, the school boundary, and we were crying, thinking it was the end of the world.
I was prepped to tell the students that what they'd seen didn't exist.
We were told that we weren't allowed to speak to the media.
I think adults have got preconceptions about what a UFO might or may not be, but kids are a different matter. And yeah, when you got 200 witnesses, either there was something strange in the tuck shop lunch that day, or there was something else going on.
One written account survives in the Dandenong Journal newspaper, which reported the occurrence, questioned the involvement of the military and the cover-up by school officials.
A teacher who claimed to see UFOs hovering over a Melbourne school says military officials threatened to have him fired if he ever spoke about the incident.
In 1966, Westall High students and teachers insist they saw UFOs triggering a massive government cover-up.
They were threatening him.
Oh, absolutely. I was threatened.
Now, close to that landing area is a popular UFO-themed children's playground, but at the time, within 40 minutes, this area was swarming with military officials who warned witnesses never to tell anyone what they'd seen.
Decades have passed since the Westall UFO incident, but the mystery continues to captivate and intrigue, inspiring countless theories and conjectures about the true nature of the unidentified object. As long as the case remains unsolved, the Westall UFO will remain an enduring enigma, a reminder of the mysteries that lie beyond the boundaries of our understanding. The mystery of the KazII, also known as the Ghost Yacht, is a perplexing maritime event that has baffled investigators and captured the imagination of Australians. In April 2007, the 12-meter catamaran KazII was found adrift off the coast of Queensland with its engine running, sails set, and no crew on board. The discovery of the unmanned vessel sparked a massive search and rescue operation as authorities scrambled to determine the fate of the 3 men who had been aboard the yacht: Derek Batten, Peter Tunstead, and James Tunstead. Despite extensive searches of the surrounding waters, no sign of the missing crew members was ever found. Speculation and theories about the disappearance of the crew of the KazII abound, with some suggesting foul play or a deliberate act of sabotage. The circumstances surrounding the vessel's discovery, including the fact that its engine was running and sails were set, have led some to speculate that the crew may have encountered trouble on board, prompting them to abandon ship in a hurry. Yet perhaps the most tantalizing theory is that the crew of the KazII may have staged their own disappearance as part of an elaborate hoax or insurance scam. Some believe that the men may have deliberately abandoned the vessel and disappeared to start a new life elsewhere, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and speculation. Despite extensive investigations and inquiries, the true fate of the crew of the KazII remains unknown. The vessel itself was eventually salvaged and sold, but the mystery of what happened to Derek Batten, Peter Tunstead, and James Tunstead continues to haunt the waters off the coast of Queensland, a testament to the enduring allure of maritime mysteries. The Marree Man, also known as the Stewart's Giant or the Outback Geoglyph, is a massive and mysterious figure etched into the red earth of the Australian outback near the town of Marree in South Australia. Imagine this: In June 1998, a pilot flying overhead spotted the colossal outline of a man measuring approximately 4.2 kilometers in length, carved into the desert floor. The discovery of the Marree Man sparked widespread intrigue and speculation about its origin and purpose. Who created this monumental artwork and why? The sheer scale and precision of the geoglyph led some to speculate that it must have been the work of a well-organized team with access to sophisticated equipment and resources. One theory surrounding the Marree Man suggests that it may be a modern-day creation, perhaps commissioned by a wealthy individual or organization seeking to leave their mark on the landscape. The mystery surrounding the geoglyph's sudden appearance and the lack of any official claim or acknowledgement of responsibility has fueled speculation about potential motives and intentions. Another theory posits that the Marree Man may be an ancient Aboriginal artwork or cultural site, repurposed or reimagined by a contemporary artist or group. Some believe that the figure may hold significant cultural or spiritual significance for Indigenous Australians, adding a layer of complexity and controversy to the mystery. Yet, perhaps the most intriguing aspect of the Marree Man is the mystery surrounding its creation and the identity of its creators. Despite extensive investigations and inquiries, including aerial surveys and ground searches, no conclusive evidence has ever been found to definitively attribute the geoglyph to a specific individual or group. Over the years, the Marree Man has become a symbol of the Australian outback's vastness and mystery, drawing visitors and enthusiasts from around the world eager to catch a glimpse of this unexplained figure etched into the red earth. In the serene wilderness of Australia's vast outback, where the ancient landscape whispers tales of mystery and intrigue, there exists a legend, the tale of the Lady of the Swamp, Margaret Clement. Our story begins in the early 20th century, a time when the Australian frontier was still largely untamed, and tales of bushrangers and outlaws echoed through the rugged terrain. Margaret Clement, a spirited young woman with a love for adventure, found herself drawn to the uncharted beauty of the outback. Margaret's life took an unexpected turn of fortune. Her father, a humble caretaker of bulls, stumbled upon luck when he invested in shares of a gold mine that surged in value. With newfound wealth, the Clement family could afford the luxuries of top-tier education, fashionable attire, and extravagant vacations to renowned destinations. In 1890, tragedy struck as Margaret's father passed away, leaving her and one of her sisters with an inheritance. In 1907, they seized the opportunity to purchase Tuileries, a grand mansion nestled amidst the marshy expanses of South Gippsland. Though the mansion boasted around 20 majestic rooms, its idyllic setting was marred by the encroaching swamp waters. Margaret reveled in a life of opulence and exploration until the 1920s, when a devastating revelation shook the foundation of their wealth. Trusted associates, it was discovered, had swindled the Clement fortune, leaving them in financial ruin. Forced to sell sections of Tuileries, Margaret and her sister faced the grim reality of dwindling resources, resorting to meager provisions from local stores as their once grand estate fell into disrepair. By the 1950s, Margaret found herself alone, her sister having passed away. Yet she stubbornly clung to Tuileries despite its lack of modern amenities. Reduced to a modest cottage on the estate, she sought solace in the pages of mystery novels and the companionship of her faithful dog, Dingo. On the 22nd of May 1952, Margaret vanished without a trace, leaving behind a baffling mystery. Speculation ran rampant. Had she succumbed to the perils of the swamp, taken her own life, or was she met with foul play? The absence of her cherished walking stick, a constant companion on her excursions, only deepened the intrigue. Despite suspicions surrounding a local resident, no conclusive evidence emerged, and Margaret's fate remained shrouded in uncertainty. Dubbed the Lady of the Swamp by the press, her disappearance captivated the nation. Each fragment of information scrutinized and sensationalized. Decades passed, and in 1978, a set of bones discovered in the vicinity sparked hope of resolution. Yet upon examination, they were determined to belong to an Aboriginal woman, leaving Margaret's fate unresolved. To this day, the mystery of Margaret's disappearance endures, a tantalizing enigma echoing the pages of the murder mysteries she so adored. In her absence, she remains forever entwined with the legend of the swamp, a haunting reminder of the fragility of fortune and the depths of human intrigue. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, Adelaide, Australia was gripped by fear as a series of gruesome crimes unfolded, forever etching the name the family murders into Australian criminal history. It all began innocuously enough with the disappearance of teenage boys from Adelaide's streets. The first victim, Alan Barnes, vanished without a trace in 1979. His disappearance was followed by the unsettling vanishing of Mark Langley and Neil Muir in 1980. These disappearances, initially viewed as isolated incidents, soon revealed a chilling pattern. The true horror of the case emerged when the body of Alan Barnes was discovered in the Adelaide Hills in 1979, bearing signs of brutal torture and sexual assault. This grim discovery sent shockwaves through the community as fears of a sadistic predator lurking in their midst grew exponentially. As police delved deeper into the investigation, they uncovered a disturbing underworld of and deviant sexual practices. It was revealed that the victims had been lured into a trap by a charismatic and manipulative individual known as Bevan Spencer von Einem. A wealthy and well-connected man used his influence to ensnare the victims, offering them rides and drugs before subjecting them to unspeakable acts of violence and depravity. His network of associates, dubbed the Family by authorities, facilitated his heinous crimes, shielding him from detection and accountability. The horrors inflicted upon the victims were beyond comprehension, with evidence suggesting that some had been drugged and tortured for hours before their eventual demise. The methods employed were chillingly methodical, indicating a calculated and sadistic mind at work. Despite tireless efforts by law enforcement, the full extent of the family murders would not be known for years. It wasn't until 1983 that von Einem was finally apprehended and brought to justice, convicted of the murder of Richard Kelvin, another victim of his depravity. The trial of Bevan Spencer von Einem shed light on the dark and disturbing world of organized in Adelaide, sending shockwaves through society and prompting calls for greater vigilance and protection of vulnerable individuals. Although it is almost certain that other members were involved in these crimes, police believe there could have been as many as 12 others that participated. Von Einem is the only person who has been prosecuted.
Only one murder has been solved, with Bevan Spencer von Einem convicted of killing 15-year-old Richard Kelvin.
Richard Kelvin's death was one of 5 linked to the so-called family murders.
Witnesses heard screams and heard multiple voices.
40 years in the making.
Some of the worst crimes committed against children, and people are still suppressing the suspects.
The discovery of fresh evidence relating to the so-called family murders has raised hopes for the brother of the first victim.
One of the most disturbing crimes I've ever written about.
The diary, now being examined by major crime detectives, was written by an associate of the killer.
This person had a detailed diary of the people, their names, dates, everything.
Other people were involved in this, and indeed the coroner had commented on that himself. If you look at the similarities, the lures, the way that these boys were lured into cars by transvestites looking like women, promised to go to parties. When they got in the car, they were drugged, their drinks were laced, they, were then held in captivity.
To this day, the family murders remain largely unsolved and serve as a chilling reminder of the depths of human depravity and the importance of remaining vigilant against those who seek to prey upon the innocent. In the rugged and uncharted wilderness of 19th century Australia, one man's daring quest for exploration would captivate the nation and mystify historians for generations to come. This is the riveting tale of Ludwig Leichardt, a German scientist and adventurer whose disappearance remains one of Australia's greatest unsolved mysteries. Ludwig's story begins in 1842 when he arrived in Australia with dreams of unlocking the secrets of the continent's vast interior. With boundless curiosity and an insatiable thirst for discovery, Ludwig embarked on a series of ambitious expeditions into the heart of the Australian outback. In 1844, Ludwig gained international acclaim for his groundbreaking journey from Moreton Bay in Queensland to Port Essington in the Northern Territory. This epic trek covered over 3,000 kilometers of uncharted territory, traversing rugged terrain, dense forests, and treacherous rivers. Along the way, Ludwig documented new species of plants and animals, mapped previously unknown regions, and forged relationships with the indigenous people. Encouraged by his success, Ludwig set his sights on an even greater challenge, a transcontinental expedition from east to west across Australia. In 1848, accompanied by a small party of explorers, including Aboriginal guides, Ludwig set out from the Darling Downs in Queensland with high hopes and grand ambitions. However, as weeks turned into months and months into years, anxiety grew among Ludwig's supporters as no word was received from the intrepid explorer. Despite extensive search efforts mounted by the colonial government and private individuals, no trace of Ludwig or his party was ever found. The fate of Ludwig Leichardt and his companions remains one of Australia's most enduring mysteries. Over the years, countless theories have been proposed, from tragic accidents to hostile encounters with indigenous tribes, to succumbing to the harsh realities of the outback. Yet the truth remains elusive, shrouded in the vastness of the Australian wilderness. Despite his mysterious disappearance, Ludwig Leichardt's legacy endures as a testament to the spirit of exploration and adventure. His name is immortalized in the annals of Australian history, revered as a pioneer who dared to venture into the unknown and whose courage continues to inspire generations of adventurers to this day. In the sprawling countryside of New South Wales, Australia, during the mid-19th century, the tranquil setting belied the storm brewing within the halls of one of England's esteemed families, the Tichbornes. This saga, known as the Tichborne Claimant case, unfolded against the backdrop of colonial Australia, blending elements of mystery, identity, and legal drama into a tale that captured the imagination of Victorian society. The story commenced in 1854 when Roger Tichborne, scion of the Tichborne family lineage, embarked on a voyage aboard the ill-fated ship, the Bella. Tragically, the vessel vanished without a trace, leaving Roger presumed dead and his family plunged into mourning. Little did they know, this would mark the beginning of a decades-long saga that would shake the foundations of their prestigious name. Fast forward to 1865, when whispers began to circulate of a man claiming to be the long-lost Roger Tichborne. Enter Arthur Orton, a rugged butcher from Wagga Wagga, whose uncanny resemblance to the missing heir sparked immediate intrigue. Despite his humble origins and lack of intimate knowledge of the Tichborne family's affairs, Orton boldly asserted his identity, igniting a fervor of speculation and controversy. The ensuing legal battle, famously known as the Tichborne case, unfolded with all the dramatic flair of a Victorian courtroom drama. Sir Henry Tichborne, Roger's cousin and rightful heir to the family estate, mounted a formidable challenge against Orton's claims, determined to expose the impostor and protect the family fortune. The trial captivated Victorian society, drawing crowds of spectators eager to witness the spectacle unfold. Edward Keneally, Orton's impassioned advocate, waged a fierce defense, rallying supporters and casting doubt on the legitimacy of Sir Henry's case. Yet, as the evidence mounted and testimonies were scrutinized, the truth began to emerge. Orton's shaky recollections and inconsistencies in his story raised serious doubts about his authenticity. Despite fervent attempts to sway the jury, Orton was ultimately exposed as a fraud, convicted of perjury, and sentenced to imprisonment. The conclusion of the Tichborne case in 1874 marked the end of an era. But the legacy of this extraordinary saga endured. The truth of what happened to Roger Tichborne and the ship that disappeared with him has never been uncovered. In the rugged landscapes of colonial Australia, amidst the dust and the heat of the outback, a legend was born that would echo through Australian history, the tale of the Kelly Gang. This is a story of rebellion, of defiance, and of the enduring spirit of a people seeking justice in the face of oppression. Our journey begins in the mid-19th century, in the sprawling countryside of Victoria, where the Kelly family made a living on the fringes of society. It was here, against a backdrop of social upheaval and economic hardship, that a young bushranger named Ned Kelly emerged from the shadows, destined to become a symbol of resistance against the colonial authorities. Ned Kelly's transformation from a humble farmhand to Australia's most notorious outlaw began with a series of run-ins with the law. Frustrated by the injustices he witnessed and the heavy-handed tactics of the police, Kelly and his band of loyal followers, including his brother Dan and friends Joe Byrne and Steve Hart, took to the bush, evading capture and striking fear into the hearts of their oppressors. The exploits of the Kelly Gang, marked by daring bank robberies and audacious acts of defiance, captured the imagination of the public and earned them both notoriety and admiration. Clad in their distinctive suits of homemade armor, they became folk heroes, celebrated by the downtrodden and despised by the authorities. But it was their final stand at Glenrowan in 1880 that would seal their fate and cement their place in Australian folklore. Surrounded by police and outnumbered, the Kelly Gang made their last stand at the Glenrowan Inn, where they hoped to derail a police train and spark a rebellion against the colonial government. In a dramatic showdown that would be immortalized in legend, the Kelly Gang engaged in a fierce shootout with the police, with Ned Kelly himself donning his iconic armor and emerging as a figure of mythic proportions. Despite their bravery, the gang was ultimately defeated, with Joe Byrne killed in the shootout and Ned Kelly captured after sustaining multiple gunshot wounds. The trial of Ned Kelly captivated the nation, as he defiantly proclaimed his innocence and railed against the injustices of the colonial system. Yet, despite widespread public support and appeals for clemency, Kelly was sentenced to death by hanging, his final words echoing across the ages.
Such is life.
With the death of Ned Kelly, the era of the bushrangers came to a close, but the legend of the Kelly Gang lived on, immortalized in books, songs, and folklore. His body buried in a grave, but the story didn't end there. His skull was put on display at the museum of the old Melbourne jail, until it was stolen almost a century after his death in 1978. In 2009, his skull was returned by a farmer, whilst the skull looked incredibly similar to Ned Kelly's skull. After DNA testing, it was found not to belong to the famous bushranger, and to this day his skull has never been found. In the early 1980s, a string of grisly murders sent shockwaves through the communities of Tynong North and Frankston in Victoria, Australia. This dark chapter in Australian history unfolded over a span of just 2 years, but its impact would be felt for decades to come. Over this time, there were 6 victims. May 30th, 1980, Alison Rook, age 60, was last sighted around 11 a.m. by her neighbors as she walked toward the bus stop along Frankston-Dandenong Road. July 5th, 1980. Tragically, Alison's body was discovered by a man walking his dogs on McClellan Drive. She was found unclothed, her remains already decomposing. August 10th, 1980. Bertha Miller, aged 75, left her residence at 10:15 a.m. to attend church. She was last spotted by a shopkeeper as she made her way to the tram stop on High Street, just a 400-meter walk from her home. August 28th, 1980. At 11:10 a.m., 14-year-old Catherine Headland departed from her boyfriend's residence on High Street, Berwick. She intended to catch the 11:20 a.m. bus to work from the bus stop at the corner of Manuka Road and High Street. Sadly, Catherine was never seen again. October 6, 1980. 18-year-old Anne-Marie Sargent was last seen at the Commonwealth Employment Service office in Dandenong, where she had gone to collect her unemployment benefit. November 29, 1980. 34-year-old Naramel Stevenson was last seen by her husband Wayne while they were in their car parked near their friend's house on Park Street, Brunswick. December 6, 1980, the bodies of Bertha Miller and Anne-Marie Sargent were discovered concealed in dense undergrowth along Brew Road, 2 kilometers north of the Princess Highway at Tynong North by 2 local men. December 7, 1980. The subsequent day, police found the body of Catherine Headland located just 15 meters away from the bodies of Bertha Miller and Anne-Marie Sargent. October 9, 1981. 55-year-old Joy Carmel Summers was observed by her neighbors around 1 p.m. outside her residence, heading to the bus stop at the intersection of Chile Street and Frankston Dandenong Road. She was last spotted at the bus stop at 1:20 p.m. November 22, 1981. Joy's body was discovered in Bushland near the intersection of Sky Road and McClellan Drive, Frankston North, around 11 a.m. by a man collecting firewood. February 3, 1983. Narromel's body was found near a bush track, approximately 50 meters from the Princess Highway in Tynong North, just off Brew Road, by a teacher and former AFL footballer Barry Davis. Despite intensive investigations by law enforcement, the case remained mired in uncertainty, with no clear suspects or motives for the killings. The communities of Tynong North and Frankston were gripped by fear, as rumors and speculation ran rampant. In the years that followed, the Tynong North and Frankston murders would become one of Australia's most notorious cold cases, with countless theories and suspects considered, but no conclusive answers ever found. The families of the victims were left to grapple with unanswered questions and unresolved grief, while the killer remained at large, haunting the shadows of Victoria. To this day, the identity of the perpetrator remains a mystery. That takes us to the end of the 4th layer. Please remember to comment, like, and subscribe. It's free and makes a world of difference to me. But until next time, keep fearing the living.